Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League and all rugby league experience. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. All of our socials will be in the description below as well, the Instagram, the TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, get amongst it. Obviously, special content on the Spotify and Apple previews, reviews of all of the games this season, all of the Pacific Championships coming up as well, all of the special games, previews, special content, but also interviews going into the off season as well. And I've asked you already, guys, on the poll on the Instagram to give me some suggestions as to who you guys might like to see. Also, leave it in the description below. Who are some people you want to see on the podcast? Let us know. But without further ado, let's get into this drawing board for round 27, the last episode of the drawing board for this season. We'll do a SuperCoach and Fantasy review next week. But this is the last episode of the drawing board for 2024. Let's go through our scores. So our shining lights to begin with. Who are our shining lights for this week for SuperCoach? For SuperCoach itself, it was James Tedesco, highest score for SuperCoach this week with 104. Big week in a losing side for the Roosters. He did a lot of work. I think he had 27 runs or close to. So got through a lot of work for that Roosters side. Isaiah Yeo. He did the same as well for his team, the Penrith Panthers, and he earned our best player, our shining light, for fantasy with 85 points. Huge points there in round 26. Let's get into round 27. So our final score for NRL Fantasy, it was 872. Decent week for NRL Fantasy. Loving the consistency right now as well for NRL Fantasy as well. We are in a bit of a consistent pattern. We're getting 800, 900 a week, which is a really nice little bit of consistency for us as we get into the latter part of the season, obviously into the last bit of the year as well. And it's good to sort of learn as to what we did around this sort of period going into next year as well, so we can maintain the 800, the 900 score lines, potentially get up to 1,000 as well. And then for SuperCoach, it was 1,107 points there. Did a really solid week. Had a really solid week for SuperCoach. Again, this week, a solid effort, especially considering that the predicted score was, I think, around 890, which is not the best, but we did have a lot of players ruled out late. And by the end of the week, it was, I think, predicted to be 890. But we managed to push through. We got 1,107, which is unreal, considering we were 890 predicted for the week. Obviously, Sam Walker then only got 9 points because he was taken out of the game early. I think 14 minutes in, he was taken out with that ACL injury. Then you also had Eli Katoa, who we left in the side as well and forgot to take out of the team. He ended up staying in my starting 17, which was annoying. But both of those guys were still in there. And even with those guys in there and the 890 predicted score for the week, we got 1,107. And it shows how much we've improved. A few changes here and there. Not notable ones that we need to really go through, but just little changes here and there. And we ended up getting 1,107, which is unreal. Really solid there for SuperCoach. Really happy with how this season has gone. We'll sort of get it into the review when we talk about, our process throughout the year, scores throughout the year for fantasy as well. We'll go through a full breakdown of that. SuperCoach will do the same. Talk about our rank, which, I'm not really going to talk too much about because it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just sort of, trying to intrinsically sort of determine how good we're going and then obviously what we need to improve on going into the next year, because this is the whole point of the drawing board, guys. This is what the show's about. It's about the battler, one of you guys, playing fantasy, playing SuperCoach and trying to improve. Not a guy that has played it for a while, has a lot of experience, but more so just the battler that is one of you guys essentially playing and, trying new things out, listening to other guys as well and what their opinions are and going with the flow a bit and trying to get better at the game. Well, both games myself. That's the whole reason behind the drawing board. That's why it's called the drawing board, because every week we go back to the drawing board and we try and improve. There are our scores. Obviously, 1,107 there for SuperCoach, and we got 872 there for fantasy. Now, you can probably tell by my voice a little bit that we are a little bit sick. The hay fever has really hit us hard, the spring hay fever, even though it's not really spring yet. spring hay fever has hit us hard, extremely hard. So we will see how we go throughout this podcast. But moving on to the trades this week, only one trade left for both apps, for Fantasy and for SuperCoach. We've used both of those, obviously. Why wouldn't you? We thought we were going to have to use them just on anything, just a quick cheapy trade that was going to get our points up to finish off the round. But with Sam Walker obviously being out and Jack Whiten being ruled out as well, I mean, for fantasy, we've had an absolute huge blow. Dave Fafita, season-ending surgery as well. We only just got him into the side, but he had to have season-ending surgery. We've also had Matt Burton ruled out due to concussion protocols as well, so he's out. We've had a huge blow for fantasy, but we've made some changes. We've made some moves. We'll go through the lineup in a second. But for fantasy, Jack Whiten's out. We've traded Jack White. We're going to go with Joseph Manu to finish off the year. We got Manu for SuperCoach anyway as well. He's worked very well for us. So bringing in Manu this week for NRL Fantasy. As for SuperCoach, Sam Walker comes out, and we're going to go with a bit of a pod play here to finish the year. Even though it doesn't really matter the pod plays anymore because we are at the end of the season. There's no more trades to save up, money to save up. But a bit of a pod play here and a bit of an unexpected turn, especially when this guy that I've traded to is coming off the bench. We're going to go for it anyway. Tyron Wishart comes into my SuperCoach side. Got 151 on the weekend. I just feel like he's going to have another big game to end the year, whether that be starting or off the bench. I just feel like he is going to kill it. In whatever role he does, come onto the field, play big minutes as well. I've got him coming into my SuperCoach side. So SuperCoach side going into round 27. James Tedesco, captain, fullback. Sam Stone Street will come out. Over the side, we will see. We just go to my SuperCoach side very quickly, see who I brought in. Should have been a little bit more prepared than this, but we did bring out Sam Stone Street because he was moved to the reserves with Ronaldo Mulatalo coming back into the side. I love it when my stuff decides not to load at the correct times, but just looking even at my sheet here and just going off the top of the head as well in regards to that. Here we go. We're loaded up. Jamin Salmon comes into the back line here. So Jamin Salmon comes onto one wing, which obviously in first grade you never see. Jamin Salmon comes in on the wing there with Jacob Kiraz. We have got Joseph Manu and Kale Ito in the centres. We've got Jaden Campbell and Jerome Hughes in the halves. Jerome Hughes is my vice captain. Jaden Campbell comes into the six with Matt Burton being out, obviously due to those concussion protocols. Terrell May and Liam Henry are my front row. Adam Fanua Blake out with the bye. Harry Grant at 9. Eli Katoa, Angus Crichton back row. Josh Curran 13. Our bench is Tom Travojevic, Tyron Wishart, Tallis Duncan, and Reid Marnie. Pretty solid side still. I think we are going to get definitely around the 1,300 sort of mark, maybe 1,200 between that sort of area. As for fantasy, Sam Stone Street will come out again here as well. It looks like Jack Bostock will have to come into the back line, and we'll be having to play with 16 players, it looks like, for the end of the year. But Bostock comes into the side. Kiraz and Fletcher Sharp on the wings. Manu and Kale Ito in the centres, just like SuperCoach. Jaden Campbell, Jerome Hughes, 5'8" and halfback. Paddy Carrigan, Isaiah Yeo in the front row. Isaiah Yeo is my captain. Reid Marnie at 9. Jack Howarth and Hamole Olakawatu back row. Max Plath at 13. Jack Bostock is not on the bench anymore. So we've got Jaden Campbell, Alec McDonald, and Jacob Gagai on the bench there. Jaden Campbell also not on the bench anymore. Let me just go to my fantasy side very quickly. Fantasy. This will load a little bit quicker, I'm imagining. Our bench at the moment is Bostock, Alec McDonald, Sam Hughes, and Jacob Gagai. We have Jaden Campbell in the starting side with Jerome Hughes. Everything else seems right. It is KO Weeks, Jacob Kiraz, and Fletcher Sharp. So KO Weeks back in the side. Let's add that in there. KO Weeks been back in there at fullback. Perfect. And then we've got Sam Hughes and Jack Bostock. We did edit that back line. So Sam Stone Street is out. We have got Jack Bostock editing it live, making it nice and convenient for you guys. And then we've got as well in jersey 15, we have got Jacob Gagai. Sam Hughes is the one we didn't have on the bench there. So Bostock, Sam Hughes, Alec McDonald, Jacob Gagai for the last week. Thank goodness. I was a little bit worried there. Thought we were playing with 11 men, but looks like we are all good to go. There you go, guys. That is your last episode of the drawing board, and what a way to end with me trying to last minute make some changes to my side with realizing guys aren't in the team list. Perfect way to end. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe. We've got plenty of content coming out during the off season. I'm going to be interviewing a page we haven't had on the podcast before that is probably the most popular rugby league content creator on Instagram, Facebook. He's been around for a while. We're going to talk to him about his journey. I have a guess in the comment section who that might be. We are also going to have a content creator that we've had on the podcast. That is probably again, a very popular rugby league content creator. He is currently on Bloke in a Bar as well. We've had him on the podcast before. He has coached me for Coogee Wombats as well. I think that one's a little bit easier to guess, but he'll be coming back on the podcast just to talk a little bit about rugby league content. And obviously how that has evolved over the past few years, how when he started his podcast, there wasn't too many rugby league pages out there and podcasts out there, and he got inspired from NFL to do his thing. I guess you've already guessed who that might be. We've also got a page that is on the up and coming to come onto the podcast as well and help us out with our season reviews. And we'll let you know who that is closer to. But we will get plenty of content out on the podcast throughout the off season. We're going to get in plenty more DMs and just get to see and schedule, I guess, a lot of interviews as well throughout the off season. And as I said in the last podcast as well, it's a thing that we promised last year. We didn't really deliver on. We had Donny Sports and Rugby League Guru on, but that was about it. We didn't have too many other interviews after that. We just couldn't organise any, couldn't get into the players' DMs. Hopefully, I'm having a little bit more luck going into this off season. We'll have to wait and see. As I said, anyone that you'd like to see, leave in the comment section below, and I'll get into their DMs and I'll give it a go, whether it be rugby league content creators, personalities outside of rugby league players, anyone that you'd like to see on the podcast, leave in the comment section below, and I'll certainly get into their DMs and attempt to get an interview going. But there you go. Another episode of Big LEZ'S League, another episode of the drawing board done and dusted. Subscribe down below. We'll see you guys in the next one.